What's that? Oh, okay.
Password change thing, I didn't know about it. So
Oh,
if you
I
sent
just saw something.
if you sent me something,
We'll work it out. Okay. All right. You guys recording? Okay. We will call this meeting of the Palmer City Council to order on July 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
here.
Councilmember Cooper,
Present.
Councilmember Best,
Here.
Councilmember Tudor,
Here.
Mayor Carrington,
Here.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Here.
Councilmember Moline.
Here.
All here.
All right. If everyone could join me, and Heidi, can I ask you to lead us in the pledge? Next, we have approval of the agenda, which is the consent agenda, and then approval of the minutes for June 25th special meeting and June 25th regular meeting. What's the wishes of the council for the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any request to change anything or modify the agenda? All right, is there any objection to the agenda as presented? Okay, hearing none, we'll declare that unanimous. And I don't think we've got any elected officials or board or commission members in the House. So next we have reports. City manager's report. Interim manager Gina. That's a mouthful. I didn't even say your last name too.
No, thank you. I am going to call up Brad Hansen at this moment for just an overview of the operational plan for the 18,000 square foot library that was requested of the administration.
Welcome, Mr. Hansen.
It's on. Thank you. So, yes, we prepared an operational report for an 18,000 square foot library. I'm sure you've all read it, but basically how we started and our methodology for this is we identified all the service points for the library that we currently do and can anticipate doing. And in another report, there's activities that are necessary to provide those library services to the community. We also had a utility study done, and then we did a budget that basically outlines, it takes a couple years to compare apples to apples, but essentially that's how we arrived at this operational report. So basically it says that with a 6,000 square foot additional facility, you're talking about an increase of about 9.21%. I think that's reasonable. We did in the utility energy audit that we had done, at that time it was a 20,000 square foot library where we contracted with the company, and so we reduced those numbers by 10% to reflect an 18,000 foot library. And so I'm willing to walk through this or entertain questions. Handle it.
Does council have some specific questions from reviewing the document? Councilman Best?
It's not a question, it's more of a statement. I appreciate the work and effort that went into this, kind of making decisions in a vacuum is something that we should always stay away from. And having this information at least gives us something that's tangible that we can look back on and try to understand it and forecast as we're going to start preparing for a budgetary session this next couple of months. When we're talking about personnel, I know that we're looking at currently right now about adding, if I understand, another 2 half-time positions to the library. Is this inclusive of that, or is that going to be on top of this?
Yeah, so On the third page of the operational plan that goes to a current authorized staffing level, which we're currently authorized for 5.5 library technicians. The idea is with the additional checkout station upstairs to add 2 additional part-timers and then add as a full-time position the administrative assistant. So it's a total of about 1.3 full-time equivalent increase. Let me just walk through the final pages of the budget so you.
Councilman Tudor, did you have a question you want to ask?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It can wait too, but I have some questions about possibly doing solar in the future, or maybe like a heat pump system, if there was any, cost to benefit ratios with those to see if that would pan out. My fear being with some of the natural gas shortages they're anticipating, what that's going to look like in the future. If we can do something to kind of
So let's go to the
thing in
energy
front of that.
study that was performed, if you wish. So like I said, this is based on a 20,000 square foot library. On page 20 of your packet, it has all of the things that they evaluated in their energy audit. We eliminated the snow melt system for $8,500 a year. We figured that we could live without that, okay? And so the 52,394 really is reduced by 8554. And on the last page within the budget, on the very right-hand side of that spreadsheet, is the actual costs that are attributable to an 18,000 square foot library, and they're incorporated in with the budget on that 18,000 square foot. So, yeah, so let's just walk through a little bit of the budget if you like. So 23 and 24 are really bad comparison years because there's a lot of expenses associated with the library that won't be reoccurring. For instance, rents on the facilities. You want me to talk louder?
Okay, just hold that, please.
Okay, sure. So there's some figures that are bad for comparison purposes for a future budget, okay? So what I did primarily was use 24's budget for payroll, which is the most current, projected into the future for 24. Okay, so those are 24 numbers for payroll, and then all the operational costs are really from 22, with the exception of insurance and utilities. The utilities was used from the utility audit, placed in the 18,000 square foot building, and the insurance was a projection of what their insurance costs would be increased to with the new facility. And so that's where the difference in the costs for those years are. So that's how we arrived at a 9.21% increase.
Councilmember Moline?
I'm new to learn this just for a minute because, in my mind, the math is just a little bit skewed, which I know you're just trying to get a projection, so I understand that. But 9.2, based off of operational costs from 2022, I think that it's fair to probably add in that buffer percentage because we know that probably is more than likely going to be anywhere from 2 to 3%, maybe even 5% more.
Okay, so I'll just walk through this again. The salaries from those years, okay, from 2024 are actuals this year. The operational expenses, with the exception of insurance and utilities, those are projected costs. Those are costs that are reflected for future activities there. The other costs associated with operational are costs really that we can control internally at the library. Like for instance, books, we have a $50,000 book budget. In the past, we've spent between, $20,000 and $45,000. So those are all costs that we can't really, or that we can control. The ones that we are difficult to control are the utility costs, insurance, which have been projected. And you're right, MEA could have a 3.5% increase, just like NSTAR could be, yeah. And so this comparison budget for 18,000 square foot building is really kind of a hybrid of current numbers, future numbers, and past operational numbers.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe you can kind of steer me away from this thinking though. So the 2024 budget though does in this spreadsheet you're actually showing the rental lease, and that's for the emergency use rental. So that's something that's a number that we wouldn't need to worry about anyhow. That's not going to be.
That's why I really threw it up, because it was an aberration. You know, we had significant rent payments, which will go away. And so that's why 146.4 for just for rent.
Yeah.
So that's why we took 22 actual numbers. That's the last year we operated in the old library.
Yeah.
And incorporated it with the new projected costs for those items that I identified.
And hopefully we won't have much where you have for repair and maintenance on the new structure. Hopefully that's going to be one that's going to be close to zero when it comes time for actuals. So.
Well, and we did reduce that with that
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
You know, most of it should be warranty the first year anyways, but, you know, but yeah, we did reduce that for that reason. Like I said, insurance, it went up. We did increase the janitorial costs because this library is gonna be bigger, and we use community development staff to clean the library, clean the depot, and clean the VIC bathrooms. And so what their idea is to take our personnel and take them away from the depot and contract the other the 5 days with the company that we're currently using, and then putting him more full-time on the library.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Moline.
Thank you. Can you just clarify that one more time? Because I thought we contracted out the maintenance, or excuse me, the janitorial at the depot. Is that what you said? Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
We contract the janitorial services at the VIC bathrooms and the depot on Saturday and
Okay,
Sunday.
thank you.
We do it the rest of the week.
Councilman Best. Okay. Any other specific questions? Did you want to? Oh, Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. I appreciated a good report. Hate to show my ignorance. I don't ever used curbside pickup. That's just a half hour before things officially open that is staffed with somebody just picking books and checking them back out.
Started with COVID, when people, we run the books out to them. And so that's what we still continue to do. That's proved to be a very popular service. It's not as popular as it was, but it's still something that we provide.
And that's open a half hour earlier just because, it allows it. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there last chance? Any questions for Mr. Hanson? Okay. Gina, do you have any more to your report?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right. Next is mayor's report. And there's a short written report there, but I wanted to mention, I believe we have a scheduled meeting for August 13th, second Tuesday in August. That's AML week, and I'm questioning whether we'd even have a quorum. So what I'm suggesting we do is cancel that meeting on the 13th. It happens to be there's 3 weeks between the last July meeting and then, so I'm suggesting we'll maybe have a special meeting on August 6th, which would still be 2 weeks after our other meeting, just because of the way the Tuesdays come out. So that's what I'm planning to schedule. I don't know how that works for everyone's schedule, but I guess we still have another meeting or so to talk about it. But I think that's it. Is there any questions for me? Okay. City clerk, do we have any questions for the clerk? I think she provided some documentation
Right.
on something's happening next week.
Just something minor.
So tell us, go ahead, and speak into the microphone.
It's the candidacy period opens Monday at 8 a.m. and closes July 26th at 4 p.m. and we have 2 council seats open, or we will during those 2 weeks if they want to file.
So this is the time to sign up. If you see us up here and you think, I could do better than that, this is your chance. You could sign up and get some signatures and throw your hat in the ring. All right, city attorney.
Yes, good evening. I have submitted a written report in your packet, which is the current snapshot of the status of interactions with the over 70 nonprofits with the city of Palmer that they have varying relationships with. So I would be available for any future further questions regarding that. But also, since our last meeting, there's been several very significant U.S. Supreme Court rulings. And I wanted to give you a quick summary of one that had not received much media attention and potentially relates to the city of Palmer. I'm also available should the council request to give further reports or summarize of the other rulings that came out. There's at least 6 big ones that have come out in the last 10 days. So the one that I'd like to quickly brief you on today is City of Grants Pass versus Johnson. That was ruled on June 28th. By the U.S. Supreme Court. So if you'll recall, when we are having the discussions for vagrancy and public safety debates, one of the issues that kept coming back were the issue of camping on city property, and that being both either a criminal citation or a civil citation or a criminal infraction. And at the time, as a result of Martin v. City of Boise, which occurred in 2019, the Ninth Circuit had held that it was cruel and unusual punishment that prevented cities from enforcing criminal restrictions on public camping unless that person had adequate access to temporary shelters, which was requiring, if you're going to ban it, you had to provide shelter for homeless issues. Then the Ninth Circuit, following that in 2019, extended that a few months later to also say that the city of Grants Pass was forced to not allow civil citations, so the city couldn't stop camping on public property. The U.S. Supreme Court, that went all the way through the Ninth Circuit, then the 2 different districts, California Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit disagreed. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court held that the enforcement of general applicable laws regarding camping on public property does not constitute a 8th Amendment constitutional violation. It is not cruel and unusual punishment. So they completely overruled the Ninth Circuit on that, which is going to begin to be flushed out, but that's huge. So that completely took the hands off of small towns from being able to have control of their city properties. So that will be highly influential. So that's just one of the ones that was released. But I wanted to flag you on that because that's going to have impact to some of the things in the future the City Council may choose to do.
Council have any questions for the attorney? Yeah. Yes, Councilmember Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, first off, with the report that you did on categories for the nonprofits, you're speaking my language. So thank you for putting this together so completely. And as we kind of flush through this, I'm sure everybody's going to have questions. But the one that stands out to me the most is that I can see that there's some differences in some of the nonprofits of what we're charging or fees versus the ones that we aren't. And so, Mr. Mayor, if it's appropriate, I would like to ask that maybe that be investigated a little bit further. Would that be appropriate to ask that now to make sure that we're adequately not,
We're consistent.
Correct, and we're not being impartial or,
Okay.
Thank you.
Want to ask the attorney to look into that a little more?
Yes,
We
yes,
can-
yeah.
Thank you.
So, just so the council is aware, may I borrow this really quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilwoman Moline had a question for me, and I realized I should have offered that a little more clear. But in the interactions with the facility rentals, where I put NA, that was because that wasn't a contractual arrangement. I put the fees associated with the contractual arrangements. The city does charge for room rentals for the library and, the depot rentals and stuff like that. So that part does, the NA, that is a fee associated with it. It just wasn't appropriate to measure contract against contract in that analysis. And just so the council is aware, I worked with the various departments and the city manager and audited each individual contracts that were available, and went through the history for the library back to 2013 in terms of all the various pieces that we've done. So this is a snapshot of what our current relationships look like and how we engage in the varying pieces.
Okay. Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This to our city attorney, I just want to say thank you again for also mentioning the Supreme Court ruling. When I saw that on the news, I started going, interesting. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And also, I would like to say thank you to the attorney. I know that this is an extensive amount of work to do, but again, this body has consistently been trying to be as transparent as possible, and we also know that many municipalities have a ongoing and continued relationships with a lot of nonprofits, and this way now the public is also fully aware, and we're communicating back to the public about what relationships we do have with some of these nonprofits, that there's kind of a symbiotic relationship going on, but we have fiduciary responsibilities to protect the city's interests and our citizens' interests, to make sure that there's proper insurance and the contractual obligations are being met, and that there are actual contracts in some situations when services are being rendered. So I appreciate this. Again, it's just building knowledge for the public as well. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councilmember Moline.
Thank you. One last question, Mr. Mayor. Would it be appropriate on the Supreme Court decision that she mentioned to ask that our current city code be looked at to see where it can be strengthened, or maybe perhaps given some teeth in regards to protections and liability with camping on our public spaces? Thank you.
So, Madam Attorney, you follow that? Okay.
Yes, so if I can clarify that, in light of the new Supreme Court holding in Grants Pass, evaluate our current city code as it relates to anything that would fall under that holding.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Then we'll move on to audience participation. Council members, council meeting rules protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the civility and dignity of the legislative process. So we will open audience participation. I think there's a sign up there. I'm not sure who's first. Okay. So Jackie, go for it. Who's that?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jackie Goforth. I'd like to bring your attention to Alaska law. Per 12 AAC 12.020A, a business license is required for each different business name under which an applicant seeks to engage in business. Per 12 AAC 12.020G, in advertising and operating, a business must use the business name exactly as it appears on their business license. I'd like to read you a story. There's a town called Smithfield. They have a candy store. There's a parasitic nonprofit inside that's called Smithfield Really Loves Public Candy. This nonprofit has skills that would make Peter Pan, the Pied Piper, the coachman and circus owner, and Pinocchio proud. They've been busy sexualizing the youth by stocking genitalia-shaped candy with names like Daddy's Lollipop and Rimming into the candy store. This candy is not just obscene, it's illegal. Candy coating outside and insides that just ooze things like sexual excretions from humans, especially anuses. Alcohol and drug-tainted fillings. Some even have bonus pictures of porn drawings inside the wrappers. And all of it is meant for children, especially young teens. The residents were aghast, horrified, determined to do something. A publisher told them they too could start a nonprofit in the candy store. It's done all the time. They can advocate for wholesome candy. So on April 24th, their new profit was called Smithfield Really Loves Candy. That's when it was discovered that the original nonprofit was using that name. Smithfield Really Loves Candy. They just took the public part off. And they were using it on the city's website to ask for money. Why, they even faked a campaign to get a bigger candy store under the same name, and that's how they hid the money trail. Nobody knows where the donations came from, where they went. It's totally illegal. It's campaign fraud. Newsflash. No one is above the law, so it should come as no surprise that Smithfield Really Loves Public Candy was reported and is now under official investigation. They hired a legal firm, and that legal firm set to work immediately. They sent out a letter. Any correspondence about Smithfield Really Loves Candy, Public Candy, is now to go straight to that law firm. Only the law firm didn't even call them that. They made up another new name. 5 times they used Loves Smithfield. The answer to that letter is negative, of course, because Loves Smithfield does not exist. And you know from the laws I just read you that using a fake name is illegal, and that's why the law firm was turned into the Attorney General's office for violating it. Nobody is above the law. Oh, one more thing. The city of Smithfield told the state that the new nonprofit of Smithfield Really Loves Candy has no authorization to use the candy store address. They were required to change it. The trouble is, Smithfield Really Loves Public Candy doesn't have any authorization either, and they never did. So no one be surprised to find out that the ACLU has been contacted and asked to represent the issue. Because if one nonprofit gets to use it, then they all should. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Verda Lewis? Might have to pull it very close.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Verda Lewis. I've resided in Palmer for many, many years. I remember when Steve had a store next to me. But that's not what I'm here for. What I am here for is Friday Fling. Friday Fling started off when we had no business downtown. I remember when I was the only store that opened on the first nighttime Christmas parade. But Friday Fling has outgrown the downtown area. It obstructs traffic. It creates safety hazards. The incident that just happened a couple of weeks ago is not the first time somebody went around a barrier. It's just the first time that someone almost got hit. When on Fridays, when I leave my home, I live right across the street from the MTA Sports Center. And if I need to go to Fred Meyer's, I drive all the way down to Springer and back around. And I'll tell you why. Because I have myself almost hit children running from between parked cars. I have almost hit adults and pets because it is out of hand. I don't appreciate my streets being shut down for this. Yes, Friday Fling brings in revenue to the city of Palmer, but it is a minute amount of revenue. The vendors are inconsiderate of parking on the streets where patrons can park and visit your business, your business, your business, or any other business. So this creates a situation as to where people that want to participate in local businesses are turned away. There's no place to park. Now, anytime you have an issue, we won't call it a problem, we'll call it an issue, we need to look for solutions. And Steve himself and Jim all know that I'm a very analytic person. So now, I talked to Brad several months ago, and we talked about possibly moving it down to the railroad track. That's not a good issue. That's not a good place, because now we're impeding our public safety people, troopers and Palmer Police. Not a good move. there's only 2 areas in which would be feasible, and one of them would have to be constructively leveled and whatever. And that's the plot of land that the city owns across from the soccer field. We were promised when that property was bought that that would be a playground in there with a pavilion. It's never been developed, never. You've done nothing to do this. We have multiple children in that area. Not only that, the second place that's feasible.
That's your time.
Okay, the second place that's feasible would be the purple parking lot of the fairgrounds. It's
Thank
still in
you.
the city.
We have another audience participation if you want to
Thank you.
hang out. Karen Lewis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council staff. Last night, the Assembly had their first gathering of the Library Citizens Advisory Committee to deal with these obscene books that are being challenged. And they didn't go over any of the books, but they went over what they're going to do, and I think that it's going to work out very well in dealing with these obscene books. Because, I mean, they're so obscene, Mr. Mayor, you won't allow us to even read them. I don't want to read them, but we wanted everybody to know what was in these books, and it's absolutely disgusting, filthy, obscene for sure. And they are, I mean, it's breaking the law to have these in our libraries. The Attorney General talked about these violations of state law, with AS 11.61.128, which is distribution of indecent materials to a minor, AS 11.41.452, which is enticement of a minor, and AS 11.51.130, which is contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And all of these books do that. I mean, I'm stunned that those books are even in there to start with, but they've been incrementally putting them in there since about 2000. And they've really been going nuts in the last, 5 years or about. And it's not just here, it's everywhere in the nation. So it definitely is a plan and a plot. And it does not help our children, it damages them. It steals their innocence, and it gives them a very twisted idea of what human sexuality actually is. So it's very good to get these out of here, out of our libraries here and out of libraries everywhere for our children's sake. And we're the adults, we should take care of the children. They're our most valued resource, if you want to say that, or possession, if you want to say that. But children should be protected. We're the adults, we should do it. And it seems like we're like in a stall here. So my suggestion to you all is to do what the borough did. They created a committee that will do this, an advisory committee that will deal with the challenged books, because the people that were doing it before were the librarians and the library people that hung around there that think these books are just fine and dandy. How anybody can think that, I don't know, but I mean, they should get some help. They should get some mental help to think that these things are okay to put in front of children. The thing is, if you made a committee and the books were challenged, because I've challenged a book to Palmer, and you know what? No, we're just going to leave it. So you need a committee, guys. So think about it, please. Think about it real hard, and please do it. Thank you.
Linda?
My name is Linda Spohn. I am pro-God through the shed blood of Christ Jesus on my behalf. I am pro-life, pro-family, pro-moral, ethical community standards, pro-USA. I am a Mat-Su Borough taxpayer. The books in our libraries should reflect educational, age-appropriate material that reflects community standards. The Mat-Su Borough as a whole is a moral, ethical community that wants the materials placed in our borough libraries to uplift and teach children skills, historical knowledge, and educational books to help them function in the future of our community. To push LGBTQ DEI ideologies is dangerous for our conservative Matsu Borough. Grooming children into sexual, vulgar, filthy perversion is evil beyond words. The contested books are in no way healthy for children. Why are these library directors, librarians, and friends of the library fighting so hard to keep these smutty books on the shelves? Why? Every one of them. We have showed you, proven to you, read the evil, vulgar perversion to you, and begged you to do something. Quite frankly, I thought if a few parents and grandparents complained about the filth being in our libraries, that it would simply be removed. Boy, was I wrong. I personally feel like it's just, shut up, taxpayer. Jackie Goforth has shown you the laws and uncovered even more corruption. She has done all the work that you should be doing. My question is, when are you going to do something?
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I am Heidi Dedmond, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I was just going to talk a little bit about curbside service because Councilman Alcantara kind of asked a little bit about it. Curbside service does not need extra staffing to do because we did offer that during COVID, and it did turn out to be a really popular service. We have moms with young kids that come, especially in the winter when they don't want to schlep the kids out, but they just want to pick up things. We still have people who have medical issues that don't want to be coming in and out of the library and things like that. So we have various people, and they're on their way to work, different things were not open yet. So it is still a pretty popular service, not nearly as busy as it was, but we already have staff in the building before we're open. So we just turn the phones on early before we open to be able to go out and give people their holds for curbside service. So that's what that's all about. So I am also going to talk a little bit about what I talked about last night. Just quickly, the reality is that the books in your library are a mirror of the people in your community. If you don't like the books in your library, then you need to change the hearts of the people in your community. That's going to take working at advocating for children. We have court advocates for children. We have people that help with domestic violence, human trafficking. You need to really get out there and talk to people and change the hearts of the people in your community, because trying to negate the constitutional rights of people is not going to fix the problem. We cannot, as librarians, go against the constitutional rights of people. We have nearly 250 years worth of library science that has been standardized and developed over the course of this country according to the Constitution to uphold the rights of people according to the Constitution. We have objective parameters. I know people want to say that we want this stuff in the library, but I'm telling you, the stuff is in the library because the people in your community have asked for it to be in the library. That's where the bottom line is. If you don't like the books, then go out and start helping people, changing people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we will close audience participation. Next is public hearings. Resolution number 24-025, authorizing the city manager to accept funds in the amount not to exceed $249,630 from the Federal Aviation Administration and appropriate an amount not to exceed $18,070 from the Airport Operating Fund for the completion of Taxiway N, as in November, airport drainage and apron E construction projects at the Warren Budd Woods Palmer Municipal Airport. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this specific resolution can come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Does council want to hear from staff a little bit more on this, or is this pretty straightforward? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Next, resolution number 24-026, authorizing the city manager to accept funds in the amount of $50,000 from the Mat-Su Borough for the purpose of funding airport operations at the Warren Bud Woods Palmer Municipal Airport. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution can come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any comments or discussion for the council? Councilman Tudor?
I think it was very going for the button. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the Mat-Su Borough for this. I was out there putting up flags with our borough rep Stephanie Nowers, and she let me know that she fought for this, and just wanted to say thank you to the Mat-Su Borough and Stephanie Nowers for this.
Good. Any other council comments or questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Next is action memoranda. Action memorandum number 24-035, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Agnew Beck Consulting and Grants Pro LLC for grant writing services for the city of Palmer, not to exceed $12,000 per grant opportunity. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
You moved and seconded. Is there any questions or
Yeah.
you want some staff input?
Yeah.
Councilmember Moline
Yeah, I'd like some staff input.
would like some staff report. So, it's a chief. I presume interim city manager wants him to talk, right?
Yes, please. We have Chief Sheldon here to just additional information regarding regarding action memorandum 24-035.
Yeah, so, early on, we had, later this spring, in May, we sent it out to bid, to solicit, other entities, that had grant writing capabilities. We got several back, and then we went through and looked at the different ones. There was two that were viable that we thought for here in Alaska based on their price and based on their experience writing grants that are in Alaska. And it was these two facilities. The goal was to get a couple businesses that we can utilize their grant writing services citywide. So not just for the police department, but it could be anywhere from community development to public works, the airport, whatever. And as a way to find other opportunities for funding. My interest in this obviously is because of the police department and the number of grants that are going to that will need to be written for the new public safety building. And this allows us the opportunity to have a couple clients, if you will, that can help write those grants for us and maybe manage them.
Councilmember Moline. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the manager to Chief Sheldon. So to be clear, you're looking at consolidating the grant writing across for all opportunities for the city through this process, but what you're hoping for is to come up with funds for the new public safety building that we would all like to see come to fruition, that we desperately need. So that's what I heard you say.
That's not to say that there are some grants that we get that we can write and manage ourselves. They do not require a lot of man hours. For example, the clicker ticket, the high visibility enforcement traffic grant that we get, that is a pass-through grant through this SHSP. You've seen that before, and I think approved one last council meeting, and there'll be another one coming up. Those require very little man hours, and we already have those. So for me to manage that is great, but for me to write say a grant for a building or maybe something out at the sewer plant or something like that, those are involved and usually come with a much higher price tag. And where the city of Palmer doesn't have somebody an employee full-time that all they do is write grants, this allows us to be able to select either Grants Pro or Agnew Beck and say, hey, here's a grant we would like to go after. And they're like, yeah, we got time to do it and can help us out.
Okay, so follow up, Mr.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Quick follow up. So the way that this is worded, I'm struggling a little bit here because the way that I interpret this is not to exceed 12 each per grant opportunity.
That's per application.
Per application.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're asking for a budget of 12, or are you asking for a budget of 24? Help.
Gina, do you have a better way of wording that?
This action memorandum, we're not actually asking for any funds. It's just to have agencies available that the city can contract with for future grant writing projects.
So you are wanting to consolidate. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And then if we need to, if we find an agent, if we find a grant project that we want to go after, and the costs involved with that, it would come back to council for approval if it's over a certain dollar amount and it's not in that department's budget.
Right. So if it's like a $5,000 grant opportunity, or it would cost that much, and I have that money in my budget, then I wouldn't need to come to you.
Right.
But if I don't have it in my budget, or it's over a certain dollar amount, then it would come back to you, hey, we've got this great opportunity, we would like to apply for it.
Sure. I thank you for clarifying, because the way I read it was you were asking for funds each per. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. So that answered one of my questions. How many are we doing? And I had mentioned this comment meeting several meetings ago. I thought that we sent staff off to grant writing training this last year or year before last, and I'm wondering, are they not qualified? Do we not use the staff that we have to do this? And then the other question is, AML provides a service for grant writing, and did we approach AML with this proposal?
AML last September had a conference in Anchorage, and it had to do with grant writing, and several of our administrative staff and had gone to those classes. The case in point with the police department, if they were going to go after some type of larger funding for some type of building or land acquisition, a project to that extent, we would need to, it would behoove us to use a grant writing agency to work on that type of a documentation for the city. The RFP went out and was posted. I don't believe AML submitted a proposal.
So, for example, we applied for a grant here, and we actually utilized Grants Pro. It came before you guys authorized it. They applied for a land grant. That, I believe, wound up being, I'm gonna guess, but it was pretty close to 100 man-hours of work in the application of it. I don't have that much time to dedicate onto one grant. I did go to the conference last year, and that's where I met Grants Pro, was at that conference. Also, Gina's got many staff on her team that do manage the grants. So there's not just the application of the grant, but once the grant is awarded, if the grant is awarded, then there's reports that need to be done, quarterly reports, yearly reports, financial reports, and then accountability reports. What am I doing with the money? And so I can fill those out, and Gina's team can fill those out. So the training is kind of twofold. It works on the front end, but it also works on the back end. We're pretty good at handling stuff on the back end because it's time intensive, but not near as much. It's a little here and a little there. On the front end, it's that, 2 to 3 weeks of man hours that they're dedicating to writing researching, writing, compiling all the information that our personnel just doesn't have the time for. And unless we hired full-time people, we wouldn't be able to meet those requirements. When a grant opportunity opens, say it opens today, it'll be open for a pretty short window. Sometimes as little as 2 or 3 weeks in which you have to apply for it, maybe a month. And some are open longer, but oftentimes you're against a time constraint. So if you don't have the hours to put in for it, then you miss out on that opportunity, if that helps.
I think it's kind of a matter of scale. I mean, I've written grants for 50, 100,000, but we're looking for millions, I believe, so. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the AML issue. I'm not sure that they look at things that are out there to bid on. I think that we need to approach them maybe in the future. And August 13th is an opportunity because the summer meeting is held in Kodiak that week, and it'd be a good opportunity for us to meet with AML and see, because they do have staff specifically for grant writing for cities.
Councilman Best.
I'll follow up on that. So Councilman Cooper and I was kind of chatting about this a little bit, that we both have familiarity with AML, and both of us are on the board of directors. And so that's something that I'm sure that we will team up and just, make sure that we have a little more robust discussion with them, make sure that we bring back the information back to council and the administration as well to, what opportunities that we might have been missing out. But we also appreciate, you guys are doing the yeoman's work right now, but you're also saying, hey, we might be out of our depth. And I also appreciate that too, when we see that the administration says, hey, you know what, we probably have a lot of leakage of grants that we're not being able to drag back because of our inexpertise that we don't currently have. So I appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Councilmember Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I'm still just noodling on this. So I agree. I can appreciate the fact that this is a lot larger process. We do need somebody professional when you're looking at something that big that has depth and scope to facilitate a grant, and which actually has a track record of success, is all a part of that too. And so I can appreciate that. I guess what I'm really trying to wrap my head around is that it sounds like this is more of an open opportunity to still seek even lower level, not lower level, I guess is the appropriate word, but just smaller grants as well for other things that might come up within the city, so that you don't have to keep coming back to the council. You just, you see those opportunities as that window is small. Am I following along with how you're prefacing this?
So that we've
Okay.
got a grant writing resource in our pocket should an opportunity come up. You guys are pretty good at when legislation is presented to you, getting
Yeah.
it passed right away. So there's not an issue there. The issue is if a grant comes open today and it's open for 3 or 4 weeks, I've got to have it in. If I write it today, I think it's 3 weeks at a time, then it's on. And so by the time you guys see it, it makes it look like it's rushed on my part. And I'm like, well, it is kind of, but I didn't wait. It's just the way it turned out. And so this allows us to be, okay, we're good. We can go ahead and apply for it. If it's a smaller, depending on the cost. We may still need to come back to you if the cost is more.
Any more questions from council? Okay, we're good.
Thank you, yeah.
Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
All right, next is action memorandum number 24-036, authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 1 with Alaska Sure Seal in the amount of $42,976.60 for additional road striping, crack sealing, and yellow curb painting along roadways. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have questions or comments from council?
Yes.
Councilman
I'd
Cooper?
like to have a report on that, please.
Staff report. Whose
Um,
fault is this?
Calling Jude Billiford, Public Works Director, to the podium.
So Gene, that's your fault.
It's my fault.
Okay.
Absolutely. I take full responsibility. So when we put this out to bid originally, and you see in your packet there when it was awarded, we used last year's prices for quantities, shipping, and things like that, because that's all we had. And we always try to get these contracts out early because we get the best price. And if we wait, there's not a whole lot of companies that actually do the striping, crack sealing all at once. And we don't want to lose out on being able to provide that service. So we use last year's quantities and amounts. We put it together, we solicit it early in the year to get someone on board. But at the same time, when we go through the budget process, we always put in more money because we know the costs for shipping and quantities go up every year. We just don't know what they are until we get to the springtime when they're then ordered by the entity under contract, if that makes sense. We have no way of knowing exactly what the quantities are or the shipping costs until in the spring. And if we wait till we know those amounts, we risk not getting someone under contract to do that service.
Councilmember Moline, did you have follow-up?
Well, I do, but I'm noodling on, I think it was the contract that has.
Okay. Councilman Alcantara, you've been deferred to.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jude, how many years or times, seasons has Alaska Sure Seal been,
Four.
Been doing this? And that's pretty mom and apple pie stuff that people comment on and see, and you're very obviously they've been doing it for 4 years. You're impressed with the work that they do as well.
They are. They are very responsive and they do a great job. They are based out of the Kenai, and they are very busy. And that also part of, we know the entities are out there because they've responded to our solicitation each time. Again, it's just one of our challenges, but we have the funds already budgeted because we know it usually is more. And so if you see in that AM under crack sealing and under road striping, both of those line items have the funds, so we're not asking you to take funds from anywhere else. It's just because we went over, that's why we're here authorizing, because we went over more than $15,000 over.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. This might be a rhetorical question, and it might be ancient history. It seems to me that city staff used to do crack sealing, road striping, etc. What happened to that?
We do some. It's very limited though. That is a one-person operation. That's all I have. One individual. So when this operation, when Alaska Shear Seal does it, there are 7 people, multiple vehicles doing that work. We could never accomplish with the one person that we have. And quite frankly, the striping equipment that we have is very, very old. Now, it is what it is. Yes, we do have one person, and that one person is very busy. They are doing things like painting the bicycle markings on the bike lanes. They are painting other certain areas that are 1 off, 2 off, that kind of thing, instead of the bulk, which is the curb striping, lane striping, and the large bulk crack sealing, a lot of it at the airport. We just cannot do that much with the one person.
Councilmember Moline.
Well, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, how much of this work has already been done?
All of it.
Oh, so it has already
All done.
been done. Okay, thank you. So this is the excess of what it's got. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just kind of offhanded comment about some of these painting that we have done. A couple years back, when we had the parking lot out front restriped, they had put the handicap stripe painting upside down, so it's actually facing the opposite direction, which is not in the standardized. But I noticed this year that they repainted it and put it the right way, and I really appreciate that because that just drove me nuts seeing it backwards all the time. So
We painted that in-house.
yes, exactly.
You're
exactly.
absolutely correct.
Yeah, yeah.
It drove me nuts as soon as I got here and saw it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could still tell what it was, but it was just not the standard normalized facing the right-hand side, and yeah. So thank you.
Councilman Cooper.
Just real quick, we do the yellow striping in city along the sidewalks. Do we do that, or do we?
We do not. That is part of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right. Action memorandum number 24-037, authorizing the city manager to purchase insurance coverage for the period July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any questions from council? Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to confirm, have we gone through our insurance assets, things like that we would need to have covered under insurance to make sure that we have the proper coverages? Just want to make sure we're not going to have any kind of issues.
Gina.
Yes, we have. It's actually based on the invoices that we got from the insurance company. The insurance for our vehicles actually went down.
Councilmember Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I noticed that there is a broker fee outlisted, but I don't see anything about a commission listed, and I think that that's required. Are they just charging us a broker fee and no commissions? I guess I'm just confused by that.
That is correct. There is no commissions on our insurance,
Okay,
but
thank
we
you.
do pay the brokerage fee.
Okay. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. It says that we get a 5% discount. Is that already included in the figure? There's no figure and then minus 5% and then.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, there's no unfinished business, there's no new business. Record of items placed on the table. Madam Clerk.
Notice of offices to be filled and a document from Jackie Goforth.
Okay. Next is audience participation. We'll open audience participation, and please start with your name, and you get 3 minutes.
Good evening again, Council. My name is Jackie Goforth. I have a handout I'll be giving you. It's from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. What it says is, if you truly want to destroy your enemy, you raise his children. For 4 generations now, the Chinese Communist Party has been pumping billions of dollars into our universities and colleges, and the next page will give you 18 different sites you can check, Newsweek, Politico, Attorney Generals, to find out this. And the reason you won't be able to find it if you're just looking on Google is because they hide stuff. And if you don't believe that, please listen to Dr. Robert Epstein, PhD's testimony from July 2nd of 2019, where he actually speaks of that. The third one talks about how you get children to fight against their own country and hate them. Well, you work on their self-esteem. One way a parent or parental person can destroy a child's self-esteem is number 2, criticize a child's innate characteristic. An innate characteristic is if you were born with parents, you're going to be short, tall, blonde, brunette, blue-eyed, male or female. How does anybody have the right to tell a child they are wrong? They're in the wrong body. You're wrong, you'll never be right. You'll never be good enough, you're wrong. Do you know you cannot change from male to female? And if you do not, or male to female to male, if you don't believe that, go look at the transplant of organs. They won't put a male heart in a female body, and they won't put a female heart in a male body because the rejection rate is way too high. There's a reason why they're different. They always were. So these people who are putting children's books, LGBTQ children's books, in the libraries, written by a man who starts with his first line, "They were calling me a girl when I was born." How on earth would he even know that? This is disgusting. And do you realize that it was put in there by a wonderful donation from the Friends of Nonprofits? Now, the people who are in there right now, putting these books in there, have the most disingenuous comments I've ever heard. Number 1, the reason why this has not been charged anywhere in the United States is because there's only 7 states that have not given prosecutory immunity to their educators and librarians for doing such sex education stuff, and they're changing that now, by the way. The second reason they haven't been in there is because it takes a child to complain about it, and the shaming and shunning is a horrific event they will never get over, and their parents know that. And the third reason is everybody knows or loves or has a relative who's an educator or a librarian, and if you think Thanksgiving's bad, wait till you have to go and you arrested your sister-in-law. That's why nobody has been charged with it. The other disingenuous part is how these got in the library is a mirror of our community? No, they're not. I have the posts from Matsu, Moms for Matsu, whatever they were, the Matsu Moms for Social Justice. And they put out a call for everybody to get these social justice books in, and Karen's got the post. She's going to read them to you. Do you understand yet? The other one is that the Supreme Court ruling in 2003, they say it's just for the internet. No, it's not. It says that libraries' content that they carry. They don't carry internet content. I'm sorry, I'm angry. By the way, the new library is absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
I like the new library too. Let's just not put any of these filthy books in there, shall we? I just learned about this yesterday. This is for children, little bitty kids.
Could you start with your name? Sorry.
Karen Lewis.
Thank you.
And it wasn't, the lady in the red sweater said that the books that are in the library reflects the hearts of the people, the community. Bull-loney, to be polite. It reflects the hearts of the librarians and those who shelve the books, okay? These, the Friends of the Library and the Moms for Social Justice put this crap in so little bitty children could see it. I mean, it's about transgendering when you're a little bitty child. We can't put this crap in our libraries. What are we doing? These people are mentally ill that want this stuff in front of children. They're mentally ill, the ones that put the sexual filth in or murder or rape or fisting or peeing on or all the garbage they put in these books for 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds to read. I'm mad too. We have to stop this. Come on. It's not that hard. Let's make a committee. You guys make a committee. You can choose someone to be on this committee and get this crap out of our libraries, please. Please. I don't like reading about it either. I mean, there was Councilman Johnson in Wasilla. He listed several books that weren't available in Wasilla when he was talking to Zane, when Zane was there from Wasilla talking. He said that Supreme Court Justice Thomas's book wasn't in the library, or Dr. Ben Carson, or several others. You know, we need things that are going to enlighten us and teach us and make us feel good, not twist our minds. Please do something, folks. Please do something. I can bring a pattern next week or in 2 weeks. I'll do that. I'll bring it. I'll give you an idea of you know, what we can do. Because we need to do something. We just can't just go on and on and on like this. You know, I'm sick of ranting. You're sick of hearing it. Let's do something about it. Let's have a place where we can challenge the book. Someone that really is serious about it, not the librarian. Our librarians are bad, by the way. We need to get some better librarians in the whole state. I mean, when you have the one in Fairbanks saying, "Oh, I've done my research, and what I found is that these children want, or these teenagers want, more sadomasochistic scenes in the books." What? Really? No, I don't believe that for a minute. Maybe one or two crazy people, but not the children. The children don't want to see that. They don't even want to see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
My name is Linda Spohn. Do you actually believe the community is contacting the libraries to put more vulgar, pornographic, filthy perversion into the libraries? Last night at the Borough Citizens Library Advisory Committee meeting, several left-leaning people stated that these contested books were healthy for children. And one is a Friends of the Wasilla Library person, said that there's no obscenity in any library. To put the blame on the community or parents is divisive. They are not only lying about the crowded libraries, they are purposely trying to divide the community. Look up The War on Children. Here I have the United States versus the American Library Association, Inc., 2003. To fulfill their traditional missions, public libraries must have broad discretion to decide what material to provide to their patrons. Although they seek to provide a wide array of information, their goal has never been to provide universal coverage. Instead, public libraries seek to provide materials that would be of the greatest direct benefit or interest to the community. To this end, libraries collect only those materials deemed to have requisite and appropriate quality. And I, too, am angry.
Anyone else? You're back.
I'm back. My name's Verda Lewis. And back to the Friday Fling. My solution is to move the Friday Fling over to the purple parking lot. You're still within the city limits. You're still going to receive the revenue. And yes, I do know that the fairgrounds is owned by the fair. But it is a resolution. It will provide safety. It will provide adequate parking for all of your vendors. It will provide adequate space for all of the vendors to park, plus it will provide adequate parking for all of the patriots. It will be a win-win circumstances, and I really thought this out. We won't be losing any money. What we will be gaining is safety within the core area of the city of Palmer, and that is the ultimate goal. And the other thing that I do feel is that the city should be running the Friday Fling, not an organization. That's my input on Friday Fling. And we we should suspend the last Friday Flings of this month. I think there's only, what, 5 more? No big deal, 5 more, because if we move it to the purple parking lot, it begins in the spring, it ends before the fair begins. It's something to take into consideration. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Mike Malewski, I live 325 East Fireweed Avenue, right here in downtown Palmer. I want to follow on after Verda and seek to have you think back, and I'm speaking specifically to Verda, to Steve, to John. You'll remember where the fair was before the fair moved to its present location. It happened to be downtown, where the VA Pioneer Home is located right now. The reason why I mention that is because recently in the news, I think you may have noted, whether you were thinking of traveling to Barcelona and you wanted to make sure you had a raincoat, because people there are not interested in having the massive tourists that have been coming recently. Or for that matter, if you've considered action being taken down in Juneau and other places regarding large numbers of cruise ships at one time. Success brings its own problems. So, we say, be careful what you wish for. I think that the Friday Fling, over the years that I've observed it, and I've observed it since it began, has been very successful. And I think Verda has a good point. It's grown too big for the venue. That's kind of simple. A second point before my time runs out is you'll also note that I'm sure that the city of Anchorage has recently made some legislation to move away from single-family homes. I know that you've directed the Planning Commission to take a look at our own zoning and situation. For many years in the city of Palmer, single-family homes had been the rule. I suspect that's not going to be maintainable. Tomorrow at the chamber, noon, there's a real estate agent and broker who will be speaking. I talk to him once a month, and it's no surprise that the city of Palmer has seen the median price of a home in Palmer rise to about $550,000. That is beyond most people's capability if you're at even a little bit beyond an entry-level earning. So what I'm only saying about all of this is that we have more and more people who are interested in Palmer. Adjusting somehow might require something akin to what Anchorage has done, but it's also going to require taking a hard look at something like the Friday Fling and saying, the city permits that to happen there. It may be time to take a look. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
Hello, Wes Arts, Palmer Bar. We do have growing pains going on. The thing is we start moving this stuff out of the downtown area, we're looking at real estate prices probably dropping in the long run. It's the things that we keep going and keeping Palmer the way it is that is making us be successful. If we start talking about moving this stuff, we got to see how we're going to adapt it for the community. But we talk about moving it, that means give and take. If it goes one direction, another area is going to be negatively affected by it. And so that's one thing to look at. It's like we start moving it over to the fairgrounds, it's a great area, but that's going to have a negative effect on downtown and the businesses in the long run. We have a lot of issues. We do have a major parking issue that needs to be addressed in the whole downtown area. But that's not what I came to talk about. What I came to talk about is thank you for Big Cabbage Radio. And thank you for all the guys that do all the support that make it where we can have these meetings. It's because I was sitting over there working, and I was like streaming it, listening to it on my little speaker, and it was like, this is so nice to be able to listen to the meeting. Then I'm like, oh, audience and participation's coming up. I'm gonna run over and put in my 2 cents real quick. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for everyone else that all the hard work that goes into trying to make it where we have communication in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation? Okay. We will close audience participation. Next is council member comments. I'll just remind council, next week, 17th and 18th, we have 2 special meetings at 5:15. I think interviews start at 5:30 for city manager candidates. And do you want to start? Or do you want to be the last? Okay, Councilmember Moline,
I
council
just,
comments.
thank you. I don't know why the mayor feels like he has to pick on me all the time for free.
I'm trying to not forget you, that's part of it.
Okay, well, that'll come soon enough. Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It is great to hear from everybody. This is your opportunity to come before your council, your elected officials, and to voice your concerns about what your hopes and dreams are for the city. And I just want to encourage you to keep doing that because it is helpful dialogue. It's important to us. Everybody's opinions are important to us. I do want to touch on Friday Flings. Just my observation was that yes, we are going through some growing pains. I think we're on a growth trajectory out here for the Valley period that is just going to require a lot of thoughtful transition with that growth. With every stumble, there's a blessing in it. And just what I observed with what what happened with Friday Flings, it appeared to me that there were pockets of people or pockets of businesses within Palmer that kind of stood up and said, hey, come here. And they busted it up a little bit. And I thought that's kind of cool because now everybody gets to see all of Palmer and all of those businesses and patron pockets of those businesses all around. So I just think that that should be considered as well because we do have a tendency to compartmentalize and think of only the downtown corridor. And I think that sometimes that can be a great thing. Sometimes that gets us into trouble, and especially on a growth of trajectory, it looks like that's probably becoming inhibitive. So I just think that maybe that is something to be considered. What I had observed was that we still had the parking was still full in downtown Palmer, even though Friday Flings had kind of been moved and different various places within the city. So I don't know. I just would encourage all options on the table with that, with the chamber to look at that. So that's Friday Flings. The books. It makes me mad as hell. I'm just gonna say it. It makes you know how I feel about this. I've said it before. It makes me mad as hell. What I'm gonna say is that if we have one nonprofit that is allowed to have influence, do book drives, and things like that, we need to be prepared as a city to be fair with other nonprofits who might have a different view to counter that. And so I think that if we're going to allow one nonprofit to have a platform and influence, we need to be prepared to have others to have the same. So I think you know where I'm headed with that. I think that is the appropriate thing to do. I also think that it's wise to look at a citizen advisory board. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, looking at input. I heard the comment tonight about changing the heart of the city. Well, there's a lot of activity that's going on, and I'll just start with a very fruitful conversation that we had with America's Future. If some of you don't know, Mary Flynn, who is General Flynn's sister, we had a great conversation with a friend and of mine who set us up with a conference with her to circumvent human trafficking. So there are things that are working in the background in order to bring awareness and to work on all of these different angles. So changing the hearts of the people is just a continual process. I think the hearts of the people are speaking. It's multifaceted. So I just want to encourage people as that comes forward, because I think you'll be hearing more about that here in the future, to get involved. Because there's a lot that has to do with human trafficking that is feeding into that, and that has become a big passion of mine, is to be involved in that. So I'm proud of the council. I'm proud of our decisions that we've made, but I would like to see action on this as well. So just pleading to my fellow council members to take action and resolve this issue.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati? Or should we come back to you?
I don't have any comments at this time.
Okay. Councilman Best?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fruitful evening. I think there was some good conversations. To the Greater Palmer Chamber of Commerce, if they're listening on the radio or review this later on, I appreciate the stance that the board took with the safety issues. How they basically, if this was the oil industry, they'd say that they went and had a stand down. The safety concerns, they had a stand down, business stops, you kind of review things, and they looked at their processes and the procedures and decided that they had a way to mitigate and have a safer event, and there's some change. But no good deed goes unpunished, and so they've kind of taken it on the chin a little bit. A few of them, it's caused some contention between some of the businesses. But this is also good. It's going to help them have a better conversation. So hopefully a better product will come out of this. And I like that everybody is starting to throw ideas out there, continue to throw ideas out there, reach out to the members of the Chamber of Commerce as well, and give your 2 cents to them. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the council for kind of meeting the challenge that I had put through with the clerk about getting photographs and nominations for the businesses of the year and the personal landscaping and all that kind of stuff as well. In years past, sometimes it's been myself and or the clerk and a few just kind of taking last minute swing around town to put in our 2 cents. But I appreciated everybody kind of putting in what they did. I think it continues to help grow the impact that we have of our neighbors, but being able to promote them about the good works that our business owners and our people that are taking pride in living in Palmer. And I'm also going to ask everybody to kind of keep your eye out for something. It's something that I've noticed for the last couple of years, and I had brought to the attention of the police chief, because window tinting on vehicles. Back when I was a kid, everybody tinted up our windows. You're starting to see a lot. You're starting to see a lot more people tinting the front of their windshields. And that's my understanding, it's illegal, but my understanding as well is that it's not a towable offense and that kind of stuff. So the officers might be able to notice it and give them a ticket, but they're still able to drive down the road. And if it was a plastic bag across their windshield, or if they had their windshield was all frozen up with snow, that's a safety issue. And so I'm going to reach out to the legislative branch and to see if there's more teeth they could be applied to, because I actually had a vehicle sitting in front of my apartment this last weekend with a bright red brow on the front, and I understand the top end of the brow, but then it was limo tint all the way to the base of the windshield. The entire windshield you could not hardly see into it when you were standing right up next to it. And I had a real problem seeing that vehicle just drive away. Back when I was a kid and tinting my windows up, what was against the law at that time, the officers made me pull the window tint off right there before they'd let me move. The vehicle was going to be red tagged and not allowed on the road, or it had to be fixed immediately. So just be conscious of that. Continue to make it an issue, and maybe we can kind of get some traction on that. But I think that when we have a car accident with a young child being ran over or something like that, where somebody's got their windows all tinted up, we're all going to look back and say, we could have done something. So, thank you.
Thanks. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Verda, nice to see you. It's been a long time. I'm glad we're both still alive. Yeah, and I hope everybody had a fun and safe 4th this last weekend. And just one other comment, I'll be out of town this Friday until next Tuesday.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Verda and Jim, I'm happy you're still around too. That's good. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on to what Mr. Arts had to say. I think it's important to recognize the folks that allow these council meetings to run as smoothly as they do and to make it available for the public. So I'll add on the kudos to Mike Molesky and Big Cabbage Radio, but also to Benji and Shelley and Sarah and Gina and all the staff from Palmer. So appreciate the work that you guys do to have things prepped and ready for us when we get here on Tuesdays, and have the packets out several days before, so we're able to look through them before we get here, and just appreciate all the efforts that everybody puts into making things run smoothly. So thanks, and have a good evening, everybody.
Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to say thank you so much to the city for working with the Palmer Chamber of Commerce. Sounds like there's been a lot of really beneficial meetings, and I'm looking forward to seeing the fruits of that. And it sounds like things are definitely improving. I just want to say thank you. It's a really good turn of events. Just had a great time at the Scottish Highland Games. I'm so happy that they chose Palmer again this year. And our police chief back there, he's a professional food critic, so you can always use him if you have oatmeal you need some taste. He did an amazing job up there, and the borough mayor was there as well. It was a great time, so thank you for that. And just wanted to mention this Saturday is the Wine Walk to benefit the Palmer Museum of History and Art, and they still have some tickets available, so if you're able to go, it's a fun event. Thank you.
And I'll just add that I think Councilmember Moline talked about, hey, it's time to get involved, and I'd encourage people to engage. If you're not ready for council, we have some boards and commissions. We make appointments to those. Come talk to me. We can talk about things. And now we're adjourned at 7:33.